information, should you choose to accept it.
It's a quest. It's a quest for fun.
Well, The Rock says, why don't we just cut right to the chase?
Okay, now he wants to get together. Well, he wants to talk.
I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
It's showtime, folks! What are you?
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to And I Quote, the weekly show where we introduce you to content creators of all shapes and sizes. Join us from any and all corners of the nerd universe, and we take your questions. I am your host, Ryan of Nerd Culture, and our guest this week is cover graphic fan artist extraordinaire, the hero maker himself. Please welcome Clayton Murwin. Clayton, welcome to the program. How are you?
All right, sir. How you doing today?
Doing well, doing well. Thank you so much for being with us. We do appreciate it. Now, if you have any questions for our guests at any point during the course of the show, let us know in the live chat. Let us know in the comment section below. Our producers are going to be monitoring it as we go throughout the course of the program. But in the meantime, to kick things off, Clayton, I got to first things first. What were some of the first comic books you remember reading growing up?
Batman. That's it. Batman. I'm
straight to the point.
Batman. I'm a DC guy, always have been. My first issue, one of the first issues I ever got hold of was one that was done by Bob Kane that my uncle had. And then I'm trying to remember what number it was, but I can't remember. But it was one of the original comics. But then my next one was Neil Adams. When he started changing Batman around, and I got really hooked into Batman. Just always, I am Batman. I mean, I've got my little Batman thing, my little Batman rings, my Batman watch, my other Batman ring.
I was going to say, if you want to get more of a close-up of those favorite things that you love in Dark Knight, feel free to show them off again if you want. There it is. Yeah.
There you go.
You got that.
Another one on that one.
Mm-hmm. Geez, you just don't quit with I'm Batman.
I don't quit, and then I've got my Batman watch.
Oh, that's a Batman watch. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see it now. That's very good looking, by the way.
Yeah, it should be for the money.
I mean, money well spent. We spent. No,
yeah, you got that right.
Of course. Great answer. So any other favorite comic writers or artists that you're a fan of, whether they be past or present?
Well, I love Joe Jusko's art.
Mm-hmm.
I love Kelly Jones' Batman. I'm a huge Kelly Jones. I'm friends with Kelly. Kelly's a good guy. He does some amazing work. I love the way he does Batman. To me, the way Kelly Jones draws Batman is the way Batman should look. That pointy ears, big. I mean, it's just really good. I mean, I got hooked with Kelly's work when he did Red Rain. Came familiar with his work, started following him. I'm trying to slowly collect every single issue that Kelly Jones has ever drawn a cover for. And I'm pretty good. I'm probably about 80 covers shy of having all the books that he's done so far as Batman. And then I'll branch out into some other Swamp Thing and some other things that he's done. So Dead Man, not Sandman. Dead Man. He's got he's an amazing artist for me. I love Neil Adams' work. There's a lot of people I admire. I'm friends with Billy Tucci. He's a great guy. I've got a lot of his She work. Larry Hama, he actually did a forward for us for our book that we did for Untold Stories from Iraq and Afghanistan, which is the first graphic novel I actually published. That was quite a issue there. I went, it was 100%, everything was donated, 100% time, talent. I pulled a lot of people in the comic book community together to do that. Actually, when we did that, it was the first time it ever really been done that way. And we used real stories from the guys that served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And then the Department of Defense approached me about a year or two later and asked me if I would do some Korean War books for him for the 60th anniversary of the Korean War, which we produced, called Korean War Volume 1 and Korean War Volume 2. The first one, Volume 1, was illustrated and written by Richard Meyer. He did a fantastic job on it. I did the covers for the books. I believe I got. Hold on a second. I got some things here.
Of course, we don't mind visual props on this program.
Yeah, some visual props and stuff like that.
Sure.
So this is the first one.
Oh yeah.
That's until the Korean War Volume 1. That was by Richard Meyer. And then this is a hardback. You can still get these.
Oh, nice.
If you Google it, Korean War Volume 1, Volume 2, you should be able to, it'll pull you up to where you can go to get them. I don't have the link off the top of my head. And then this is Volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
I did the cover for both books.
Oh, wow.
The first one I did, though, was Untold Stories from Iraq and Afghanistan. This was done by Nathan Thomas Milner. He actually works for I believe it's Horror Hound magazine now. So he does a lot of stuff. So this is his artwork for that. He did some fantastic stuff. So we've got some great Hammer. Larry, he did the forward for it. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick.
Sure.
Larry Hammer did the forward for the inside.
Ooh.
And there we go. And he's down there, and he wrote the forward for it, signed it. And then Jerry Bingham did the first story in the book, and everybody knows who Jerry Bingham is if you're into comics. And this is his artwork for that. So all this was donated all the time. Talent and everything was donated. The printing cost and stuff was Force Protection Agency on the back of the book. They donated $5,000 for the printing.
Wow.
So we did a lot of stuff with that. I founded a nonprofit organization called Heroes Fallen Studios. And basically what we did is we contacted members, and we geared it up to help people with post-traumatic stress and stuff like that by talking about what they went through in combat. One of the things that Captain Donald Sutherland approached me and asked me how he was with the Department of Defense at the time. He said, "How did you get the guys to talk to you?" I said, "It's easy. I didn't judge them, and I listened to them." And that's basically what you do. A lot of vets do not want to talk about their combat, and it's understandable. I was homeless when I left home for a while, and I was homeless for 2.5 years, and I was homeless with a Vietnam vet. So that's where my admiration for our vets come from. I remember asking him, his name was Charles, and I remember asking him one day, I said, "Are you happy living like this?" He says, "I can't hurt anybody out here." He lost everything he'd had. When he came back to Nam, he wasn't the same. So that's one of the things that we tried to do. We tried to help with a lot of people with that. And plus, I used to do portraits free of charge for Gold Star mom and dads who lost their loved ones during the war. And some that lost their lives during, once they came back stateside and they couldn't fight the battles in their head. So they wound up doing the unthinkable. And so I've helped some families with that as far as portraits as well. My very first run in comics was an independent young guy. His dad kind of called Mindhunter Omega. And this is actually the first issue I ever did. Mindhunter Omega by Red Zone Comics. They did, I think, 4,000 books. And they were actually, my comic shop had this. I had to order my own copy because I ran out of them. But my comic shop actually had this online, and they limited print run. So they're kind of hard to find if you find them. Just like Untold Stories from Iraq and Afghanistan, this is no longer in print. You can find them every now and then, but we only did 5,000 copies of the book. So that's it. Once they were gone, they were gone. Wow. Dan Monroe, who was my vice president, and he's a former veteran. He took when I went back overseas to England. I gave him the authority to take over the Korean War Volume 1 and Korean War Volume 2 so that we could keep the books going, because I actually was not planning on coming back to the U.S. Things happened, didn't work out that way, so I'm back here. So it is what it is. But yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much where I've been, or how I started out. My mom was an artist. I learned how to draw later in life. My mom taught me how to paint.
Okay.
So I learned drawing was foreign to me. I used to draw with a brush. So to actually sit down with a pencil and start drawing, that was kind of awkward. I never really did it. And so my mom, she's bless her heart, she was quite an artist herself. She gave me that love for art. And so I've been doing it ever since. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff and been around a lot of people. I know a lot of people in the industry. Am I a pro? Well, I'm a professionally published artist. Am I a pro with the big two? No, I've never worked for DC. I've never worked for Marvel, or Image or any of those. Not that I couldn't if I put it, but I did a couple of submissions when I was younger, and it didn't go nowhere. So I was like, I'm done with it. I'll do my own.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Absolutely not. Once again, we're talking with the hero maker himself, Clayton Murwin. If you have any questions for him, let us know in the comments, let us know in the live chat. And don't forget to share this video with all 200 of your closest friends. They're going to like the way they look after watching this video, I guarantee it. Don't forget to subscribe, too. That's kind of a big fish. Donna Carlene says, hello, Clayton. Nice looking ring, buddy.
Thank you. Yeah, I like it myself.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise he wouldn't be wearing it now, would he, Donna Carlene?
Right.
You're such a sweet person. Everybody is here. We appreciate that. Thank you for those of you who have commented and have liked and shared this video thus far. We really appreciate that. There's no doubt about it. So, Clayton, what would you say are some of your favorite comic book-based movies or TV series, whether they be past or present? Anything stick out to you that doesn't start with bat and end with man?
Well, Batman. Actually,
which version? There's like 50 different versions of Batman on television.
I love the original campy Batman. I also like the 1940s movie serials.
Wow, that's going way back.
I love those things. They're corny, they're campy, they're just they're just like, but they're cool. I mean, I really do. I like the old 1940 movie serials. They did 1944 and 1945. So it was 43 or 44.
It was around that time, yes.
Yeah, and then they did two different. You had Robert Lowery, who was the first one, and then I can't remember the other guy's name. But it had two different Batmans, two different Robins. But
sure.
They did the movie serials, and he used a gun, which everybody says Batman never used a gun. Yeah, he actually, when he first started out in the comics, he used a gun. He used a normal car. He didn't have the Batmobile. He just drove a regular car.
That's right.
So another show I used to absolutely love, Wild Wild West. Now, I don't know if you know anything about that, but it had Robert Conrad and James Arnaz, who was Artemis Gordon, and Robert Conrad was Jim West. Not the Will Smith Wild Wild West. That was a debauchery. I hated that movie. But the Wild Wild West, the original series, the black and white series, and then they went to color. It was every Saturday. I could not wait to watch that. I would sit down, and during the week, Batman, Wild Wild West, Mission Impossible, those are the things that I were into. I used to like Swamp Thing as well. Then they did a couple others. I'm trying to remember what other show. The Incredible Hulk. I used to like that with Lou Ferrigno.
Bill Bixby.
Ferrigno a couple of years ago at a con. That was pretty cool to get to meet someone. And that's one of the things about working in the industry. You get to meet people, because I used to do security and stuff like that as well. And I've met a lot of celebrities over the years. Met Officer and Gentleman. Trying to remember his name now. He was an Enemy Mine and an Officer and a Gentleman, and I cannot remember his name, and I know it like the back of my head.
If anyone else knows who we're specifically trying to refer to, let us know in the comments.
What's his name? Anyway, but I met him. I'm good friends with Brian Krause, who was Leo in the original Charm series with the Me and him are good friends. Actually, Brian invited me to his son's graduation when he graduated from high school, went to college.
Jeez.
My wife and him are, actually, that's funny. My wife's British, so she'd never met an American celebrity. So the first time she met him, she said, "Kiss him," and she leaned up and gave him a kiss on the cheek, and she was like, "I've never." And then Brian gave her a kiss on the cheek. Never washing my face again. So, but we actually met Mike Roker and from The Walking Dead.
Oh yeah, I remember him best as Rowdy Burns from Days of Thunder.
Who what?
Well, he played Rowdy Burns in Days of Thunder with Tom Cruise back in the 90s.
Yeah,
Michael Rooker did specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've met a lot of people, and Daryl as well from Norman Reedus.
Oh, Norman Reedus, yeah, also known from Boondock Saints.
Yeah, he's a fantastic guy. He's a nice guy too. We were at the Wizard World in Chicago.
Oh, the Windy City, yeah.
We were in the bar, hanging out, just having a good time, meeting all kinds of celebrities and people. A friend of mine, Nick Jones, he was slated. He was in Los Angeles, L.A. Battlefield, the movie. He was supposed to be in the new Green Lantern series, movie that were coming out, but he never got into it. They didn't ask him for it. They took another guy, which they would have been better off if they'd have took him, Hal Jordan. I mean, took him as the but Nick Jones, actually, he's a Marine, and he actually has turned around and he did the new Netflix series. The First Black Samurai. I can't remember the name off the top of it, but he just got that on Netflix. Nick wrote the story and got the people involved in it. So he's doing quite well for himself. I'm really impressed with him. He was our spokesperson for Heroes Fallen for a while.
Oh wow, gee willikers, man! You're just rubbing elbows with all these different kinds of fish in the sea. By the way, Keisha Acuff chimes in. She says, "Hello, beautiful people. Hello, Keisha. How are you doing, superstar? Got any questions for our guests? Drop them like it's hot in the comments of the live chat. We'd love to hear from you. Don't get me wrong." But my goodness, man, so many wonderful stories of so many big names or some of the other names out there that you've had the opportunity to meet. And by the way, real quick, I do want to say thank you to all of you who have served in the armed forces, in the military, any way, shape, or form. Thank you for your service. We do appreciate it. That goes for you as well. Clayton, what would you say are some of the biggest rewards about being an artist? What do you think?
Biggest reward about being an artist, you can draw yourself into anything. No, I'm just joking. The biggest I love to see the fate when I do something for someone or I do the artwork for someone, so especially when I've done portraits of Gold Star mom and dads, and then they say, "You've brought my son back to me for a moment," or "brought my daughter back," then that means a lot, or when someone wants you to draw their pet, or I got a friend of mine, he wanted me to do, I'm doing stuff for him, and he wanted himself drawn as Batman. Hold on a second, let me get that real quick. I don't need to jump out of there, but I just wanted to show you that.
You got to love the visual props on this show, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget to share this video with all 300 of your closest friends, because they're going to like the way they look after watching this video. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I do
That's okay.
sketch covers as well. And so this is, he wanted to be drawn as Batman.
Ooh,
His name is David Harrison. He's a friend of mine. And we went to school together. So I drew him as the Adam West Batman. And then this is a sketch, basically a sketchbook that I do. And this, when I say fan art, I do recreations of original art. But they're my illustrations I can do.
That is truly amazing, by the way. Let me just say that for the record. All this work that you're showing us right now, it's amazing. Everything looks clear and sharp, razor, just really good stuff.
There you go, Wild Wild West.
Meets Batman.
Mark Ellis, actually, the funny thing about that, right? Mark Ellis, he's a well-known writer. He actually did The Outlander. And he's also
familiar
been
with
in
that.
tons of comics and stuff. He actually did the writing for the Wild Wild West books put out by Millennium Comics.
Really?
Daryl Banks was the artist. Now, Daryl and I know I've known Daryl for a few years. He's a nice guy. But I managed to, Mark actually helped me find the copies of the books. So that was pretty cool. You get to meet these people and you become friends with them. And I've tried to help then you see issues like George Perez right now.
Mm-hmm.
That man's a pillar in the community. I mean, he's got cancer. Everybody probably already knows the story. But he's fighting it, and he's going. He's going out his way. He did it like Frank Sinatra's song. I did it my way. He's doing it his way, the way he wants to go out. And I couldn't put nothing better for that man. I sat beside George at one of the cons. He donated some stuff with us because he's a former vet supporter, and he donated some stuff for that. And me and him had a nice conversation during the show and stuff like that. I got a photo of me and him together. George is just a stand-up, phenomenal guy, and I've been praying for him and his family, and wishing him all the best in the world for what time he has left. But yeah, there's tons of people, and I don't mean to take a downer on anything, but I want to celebrate his life, because he's what an artist. He's what every artist aspires to be. To be able to go out his way and do things his way and bring happiness to the faces. All the people, that outpouring of love and friendship that he's gotten from the community, people that have followed his work for years, and that's what it is when you leave a legacy behind, or if you got people that like to see your work. I mean, I've got my followers that I don't care what I post, when I post it, how I post it, they pop up and say, great stuff. I love it, and this, that, and the other. But I mean, I'm nowhere near a George Perez or Neil Adams or anything like that. But, when you being an artist, you want to challenge people. Yeah. And you want to make people think, or you want to bring joy to somebody. There's so many different avenues that you can take and use your artwork. It's just like a writer that they write. They have a story to tell. Well, we have a story to tell, but we tell it in art. So we're able to, you want to challenge things sometimes. You want to bump things up. You want to bring things down. You play with the people's mind and what you're doing. I mean, some things that I've drawn have been quite uncomfortable for some people, but it made a statement. I did a piece, 9/11, a woman screaming, blood all over, with what, this, that, and the other. But it was one of my best-selling prints that I had.
Wow.
So, I mean,
amazing.
And I wasn't doing it for money. I had people asking me, can you do one? And I was like, I can if you want, but I mean, I hadn't thought about it. And that's just like I did a Jack Kirby for his 100th birthday. I did a piece for that. Oof. I don't sell those. If somebody wants one, I give them away, because I don't want to get the Kirby family coming out after me for something like that. So, but when you do fan art, you have to be particular in what you do. You always got to make sure you give people credit, the original artists, the original people that creators, and so forth, so on and so forth. Because if you're saying it might be my artwork that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And it might be my original style of artwork that I'm doing, but I'm still basing it off of something else. So you have to be very, very careful because you cannot, if you're going to go out there and try to pass something off that you've done as somebody, or you created it or something, that's wrong. I'm sorry. In any stretch of the imagination, I don't care how you look at it, but, right. And when you're trying to make money off of, stuff that's been trademarked and so on and so forth like that, or have copyrights, you need to try to get permission from people to do it. If you can. If you can't, then you always make sure you credit that person, and make sure that people, even though if you go to my website, www.artoftheheromaker.com, if you go to my website, you check, and any of my art that uses characters, I always state who it's from, copyright, trademarks, retain all rights and to their stuff. This is just my fan art that I've done of that. So, that's what you have to do. And it's sad in a way, but you don't want to steal from people. You know what I mean? Because there's not an artist in this world that hasn't used, or a variation. I don't care who you are. And if you say you haven't, you're a liar. It's just that simple. Same with songwriters, same with writers. Everybody's used. I mean, there's only so many positions a person can draw. There's only so many things you can draw. There's only so many things you can write. There's only so many things. And people rehash it all the time. Look at the movies. The movie industry rehashes 99.99% of the stuff they do. They keep coming back and doing remakes instead of writing
reboots.
Thing
Yeah.
them right now is the Marvel verse and DC verse. I mean, they really haven't come out with anything lately.
Yeah, I can excuse me. I can see that totally from a certain standpoint. I get it, but on the flip side of that, though, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges about being an artist?
One of the biggest challenges about being an artist.
Anything. Yeah, could be anything that comes to mind, or any, like what are some of the challenges about being an artist? Like maybe something you haven't already presented us with yet. Could be anything.
The biggest challenge for me is is trying to make sure that what I'm doing is, how should I put it, is what I want to do. Because when you get commissioned to do something,
sure,
that's one thing.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing my personal stuff and I want to put that, and throw something out there, I want it to be what I want. I don't want to be pulled back or told I can't do it, because art is supposed to make you comfortable or uncomfortable. Art is supposed to make you think or not think. I've looked at some pieces of art and I'm done. What the heck is that? And then again, I've looked at other pieces of art. Oh man, that's absolutely fantastic. Now, I'm not a big abstract artist fan. Never have been, never will be. About as abstract as I get is Van Gogh. I like Van Gogh's work, and that's pretty much it. Anything else other than that, modern realism, and I'm a realist painter. I like seeing Michelangelo, Rembrandt. Those are the type of art that the Sistine Chapel. That to me, that's art. A lot of people argue that comics is not true art. That's one of the biggest. The comic art form is one of the most widely. How do I want to put it? It's one of the most widely used forms of art out there in the world.
Oh yeah.
More than the painters and this, that, and the other. But most fine artists will look at artwork that's in comic related and say it's not really art. And that's a big kicker with me. I think comic artists are as good as Michelangelo or as good as Rembrandt. I mean, you look at the way Jack Kirby used to draw, and then that man was able to take in just a position and use form, and not really a lot of his stuff wasn't right. The foreshortening was wrong. His anatomy was wrong, but he was one of the most popular artists at the time. And today you can't even touch any of his stuff, hardly. And there's a lot of artists out there that try to draw like him, but then you've got great guys like Billy Tucci, Andy Smith, Jim Lee, Kelly Jones, all these guys. They've got a great feel. Bernie Wrightson, I love Bernie Wrightson. Oh, yes, his work, along with Kelly Jones, the use of black and white and light and dark in their work is just Bernie Wrightson and Kelly Jones, and they just blow me away. I can never say his last name. Bill Savinsky, he's good as well. So I mean, there are a whole lot of people out there that I look up to. Joe Jusko, I love his paintings. The man's got he's done more Tarzan. He's doing the Tarzan books right now. I don't know if you're aware of that. He's been doing the new Dust Jacket covers. I've got one of them, or I've got 4 of them actually. The first ones he's did, and these are
there it is.
Work for the new Tarzan, which were asked to do by EIB, Edgar Rice Burroughs.
Oh, so
he's been contracted to do every single Tarzan story with a new Dust Jacket cover, and he's done a phenomenal job of them. Joe's a great guy. I've met him in a couple of shows. We've sat together, hung out together. He's given me some stuff. I've exchanged stuff with him, but yeah, there are a lot of people out there that that I look up to, that I think are fantastic artists. or they have a fantastic story to tell. There's some new people that I've been working with Charles F. Millhouse, who's an author. And speaking of that, I've done 3 covers for him. I've only got 2 of the books because I haven't got the most recent one. But these are Captain Hawkland and the Ghost Army and Captain Hawkland and the Invisible Enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Covers that I did for his books. I also did the last one in the series. I think he has a total of 8 or 9 books total. The series is phenomenal. If you haven't never heard of it, it's called Captain Hawkland. It's by author Charles F. Millhouse. Check him out. He's a fantastic writer. I love the books. I loved reading the stories. They're all set in the 1930s. So that's why this last one was the ending of the 1930s. So Captain Hawkland will be back, but it'll be back in a different era. So, right. But it's, Charles, I met him online. Brian K. Morris, he's a writer. There's so many people that I've met that I look up to and that that empower me, and I try to implement certain things off of these guys and take that into what I do into consideration and stuff like that. So, anything else?
No, if
I get off on a tangent, just shut me up.
I know, seriously. I ask you one question and you go in like 50 different directions. Even our producers backstage are wondering what the frack is going on. No, I'm kidding, Willow. You're fine. Keep doing what you're doing, Willow. You're great. You brought up, what was it? The Captain Hawkland Adventures. Like, here's one, The Invisible Enemy, right?
Yep.
That one looks ridiculously good looking. And then you also have this one, which I believe is his upcoming book, which is Captain Hawkland and the Anubis Curse. This is the new one. So this is the one that's going to be coming out within the near future. And by the way, congratulations to Charles F. Millhouse.
It's coming out in March.
In March, yeah. March Madness. Oh, yeah. So you see what I did there? So you got Captain Hawkland and the Anubis Curse. This looks great. Great cover. Charles F. Millhouse. Check him out at stormgatepress.com. He's got a great series. And by the way, Charles F. Millhouse has been a previous guest on this very program that you are currently watching. Notice, and I quote, and don't forget to share this video with all 500 of your closest friends because they're going to like the way they look after watching this video. I guarantee it. So yeah, Captain Hawkland, I'm looking at these covers that you've done here in the past here, Clayton. I'm getting some mad Indiana Jones vibes here, and I like it a lot. Yeah, so props to you, my man.
Indiana Jones stuff. I love the movies, the Temple of Doom and stuff like that. I'm a big sucker. I like the Phantom, which was set in the jungle. I love the jungle movies. Tarzan, stuff like
Billy
that.
Zane, I believe.
Buckaroo guys, there's a character that Charles has done as well, Zane Carrington, which I've done a couple of art for in one of the pulp reality books that he's done. But yeah, there's a whole Indiana Jones Jungle Cruise type thing, like the movie with The Rock that just did
Jungle Cruise, yeah.
Jungle Cruise. That whole scene. But yeah, the Indiana Jones I love. I think my favorite one was the first one.
Raiders.
Yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
That one stuck with me. Sometimes,
especially the opening 10 minutes of the film was one of the best introductions to a character we probably have ever seen.
Oh yeah, I mean there's been some other movies similar, but nothing has been able to top. As far as I'm concerned, it's just like a lot of people. Now, I'm not a big Star Wars.
I was going to say, watch what you say because you're talking to a Star Wars fan here.
Yeah, so. I'm not a big Star Wars person. I love them. Don't get me wrong. I love the movies, but it's too complicated to try to follow everything.
Okay. And, there's a lot. There's a lot of TV series. There's a lot of comics out there that take place in the new universe that is the new canon of Star Wars. And I can understand how that could be overwhelming, perhaps even for you or someone who is watching or listening to this episode at home.
Yeah. You've got Dave Dorman. I'm sure you know who he is, right?
Can you give me or maybe the person who's watching this the 411 on who this individual is?
He's one of the premier artists for Lucasfilm. He's done a lot of work. Cover work and so on and so forth, paintings and stuff like that. Check him out, Dave Dorman.
Dave Dorman.
Yeah. Then another guy who's really he's a well-known artist, but he's not really tied with Lucasfilm or anything, but his name is Brian Snuffer. Brian, B-R-Y-N. B-R-Y-A-N.
Oh, yes.
S-N-U-F-F-E-R. He does some fantastic Star Wars stuff. and military stuff. So if you really want to see some great art, he's a friend of mine on my friends list. Check him out. He's good. I'm all about promoting other people. I'm not just about myself, because I'm not in competition with anybody. We as artists and writers and so forth need to support one another and put each other ahead, and that way we help one another. Because Bobby Nash, I'm sure you're familiar with Bobby Nash, right?
Well, he's actually my favorite writer going right now because of something called This.
Yes, Snow.
You know, Abraham Snow is kind of a big fish right now. By the way, if you want to know more about Abraham Snow, go to abrahamsnow.com or bobbynash.com. You're going to like the way you look after visiting those websites. Trust me, I know what I'm talking about. I've read your stories, Bobby. Snow, some of the more recent stuff with Snow. I haven't read some of the newer stuff yet, but don't worry, Bobby Nash. I know you're watching this. I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it soon. Snow is great. I love Snow. He's like a mixture of Bond meets, Michael Weston from Burn Notice. All that jazz.
I've been waiting to get a nice tax refund so I can get all of them at one shot. I'm terrible when I go to buy. If I buy something, I want to buy it all at one shot. I don't want to have to wait, because and that's just how I am. My wife drives her crazy.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you for a quick second, not to get off the subject too much, but when it comes to reading a story, I prefer to have it all in one place or have it all in front of me at once. So I'm completely in agreement with you, because when I go to comic book stores, by the way, always support your LCS, I prefer to buy the trade paperbacks with the entire story in it. I don't want to have to buy 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 volumes of an ongoing series. Now, I understand that paperbacks can't, for certain stories or certain characters, they may not be able to house all 20 billion pages. Well, guess what? If you can put it in an omnibus, you can do it for your series, okay? People have been putting together omnibuses for years. Trust me when I tell you. I was at my LCS the other day, and I saw omnibuses on one giant shelf, and I said to myself, okay, so if I want to learn more about the Guardians of the Galaxy, here's an omnibus. If I want to learn more about the original Uncanny X-Men from, back in the 60s, here's a Marvel's Masterworks omnibus that I can just buy. So
it's like the Golden Age omnibus with the Batman. You've got every single Batman story up to the present. And that is a fantastic run. You're talking over almost 1,000 issues of books.
Yeah, there's gold, there's silver, there's bronze age, depending on what you like and depending on which character you're following or you're a fan of. Which don't get me wrong, I don't mind if you're into a different character than I am. That's fine. Look at me. I'm a Superman fan. I love Batman, but Super Loop is my number one. But there's no problem with that, and it's the beauty of life. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, and also you've done covers for other stuff too, such as this one, Pulp Reality, and you got the female pirate on there laying down the law and laying the smack down with that look on her face. So
I don't know what happened to the colors on that, but that is not how that cover turned out.
Well, I got somewhat of a different image that was sent to me.
Okay, all right.
So don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say that this is
there you go.
100%, but there it is. See, yeah, there's the OG right there. If we can pull that up for a moment, there it is. So I'm just curious. Pulp Reality 2, you got a female pirate, which, by the way, if they ever make a female pirates movie later down the line, which I know Disney's kind of toying with right now, I'm fine with it. But I'm just curious, how long did it take you to put that cover together for Pulp Reality number 2?
That cover? That took me to come up with the initial look and the drawing. It took me about a week to actually, because I kept changing it and I wasn't happy with it, and then actually if you look at it, this part here was an afterthought. The original artwork was only this, but then we had an issue with the art fitting the cover because I had actually done it on the wrong size. So I said, okay, girls, I will sort that out. So then I went, okay, this is what we're going to do. So then I got this and added that in there, made a border, which actually worked out a lot better with it on the cover because it brought the cover out more.
That's fair. I completely understand where you're coming from that, but I'm just curious. Outside of, I know we've talked about this certain character for a bit, but I'm Batman. So outside of Batman, do you find yourself enjoying putting covers together, such as this one, and do you find yourself enjoying putting together covers of books for adventure stories a little bit more so than your love of the Dark Knight himself? Or like, what is it you enjoy more, the book covers or just drawing freehand?
I love drawing the book covers. I enjoy it. I mean, when I do the book covers, I mean, I've done this is a variant cover I did for a comic for the League of Enchantment.
Oh,
Now this is I can go whatever style. I can be realistic. I can cartoony, however you want to do it. This is Loey the Liger. It was a variant cover that I did for them.
Yeah.
I did interior stuff for Eye of Dawn. This was published by Airship 27.
That looks cool, by the way.
The author's name was Bradley Sonat. Now, I did not do the cover for that, but I did the interior artwork.
Oh, yeah.
For it. There was 9 interior illustrations that they wanted to have done for that particular story. Trying to get it out. And let me see. This is one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
wow. Look how detailed that is. That's sharp.
And these are black and white illustrations, but like I said, I did the 9 covers for it, and it's quite a good. Actually, it's a good story. Bradley did a fantastic job on the.
Mm-hmm. Well, there it is. My goodness.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, there you go. Other characters within the story, yeah.
These are along the lines of pulp reality, the way the old pulps were.
Yeah, the old school pulp. Yeah.
The old school pulps. And this is what it is. It's new pulp. So, and then
I dig it.
A little harder.
Mm-hmm. And I've read some of the new pulp, writers' stories and Pulp Realities 1 and 2. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I have not gotten to Pulp Reality 3 yet. I have it here in my possession. I just have not read it yet. So don't come at me, bro.
Well,
I'm getting to it. I promise.
I am actually considered a new pulp cover artist.
Oh, really?
I do a lot of stuff on the new pulp Grenier. I like doing new pulp work. I'm working on a book for. I'm way behind on. I've got a project that I promised him I would get done, but I haven't completed it, and I'm way behind on it. And I was supposed to have it done in April, and I'm still behind on it. But it's a lot more involved, and I work 10-hour shifts. So, and I know, and then I've got a wife that I have to do things for. So, at the end of the day, my free time is limited, and I sleep a lot when I'm off because I work nights. So it's made it quite challenging trying to get some of these commissions out and get some of this work out that I've agreed to do. But I keep plunging away at it. Now, if someone's paid me for it, then that takes priority over anything else.
Sure.
The stuff that I've offered to do, for nothing, then that kind of gets shoved to the back burner. Which I don't mind doing stuff like that. It's just you have to understand that I have limited time and limited resource, so I have to do what has to be done first.
No, it's completely understandable. And Julie Alpern chimes in. She says, I love that you guys support each other's work as artists. That's the way it should be in all aspects of life as well as industries.
Of course.
So Julie is chiming in. She's agreeing with you on that front, or as well as many other fronts. Let's be honest here. Don't get me wrong. Oh my goodness. Let's see here. Julie had another question. I'm trying to find out where it was. Here, let me see. Here it is. So Julie Alpern says, besides having served our country, I'm assuming, what legacy do you want to leave to this world? How do you believe, Clayton, your art serves the greater good? No pressure.
How do I believe my art serves the greater good?
Yeah. Or what legacy do you want to leave to this world is what Julie is asking.
Well, at the end of the day, if I can make people happy and smile and laugh or cry or whatever the reaction is on a piece of work that I've done for them or for someone else, that's that's my goal, is to be able to take and touch that person a certain way. I had a Master Sergeant, C.J. Grisham. He was one of the soldiers who did. When I first met him, he was a sergeant. He wasn't a master sergeant. He was one of the first soldiers that contacted me to do a story for the book that we did, Untold Stories from Iraq and Afghanistan. Once we did his story and everything, and we illustrated it and put it out there, and once the book was complete, CJ came back. He got a copy of it because I made sure that they, everybody that submitted the story got a free copy. He came back to me a couple of months after it was done, and he said he wanted to thank me for what I did. And I said, well, I didn't mind, that's great. He said, no, you don't understand. He says, being able to sit there and read my story and see it in print the way I did made me understand that I did the only thing that I could do. And it helped heal me. And he gave a copy to someone that meant a whole lot to him, which is one of his commanding officers. He said, and I was able to share that with him. He says, you have touched me in a way that no one has ever done. And I want to thank you for that. And that hearing that come to me from him. Now, I didn't draw the work. I didn't draw it. I put the book together. I think I did one illustration in that book because it was about the troops, but I did a pinup in the book, but being able to pull that together, and I was the editor. I put this whole thing together. For me to hear him say that to me, and then that wanted me to thank the artist that drew the illustration and the writer. Her name was Valerie Finnegan. She did the writing portion for me. That meant a lot. And so that's where you got, when you can touch people with whatever it is, whether it's writing, art, pottery, whatever. I don't care what you do, whatever your thing is, if you can touch somebody and to that extent, and then you've done something. I mean, and that's my only goal in life is if I've done a little bit of something for someone, then that's right. And I want to be clear on something. Now I ran a veterans nonprofit organization and so on and so forth. And I was homeless with a veteran when I was but I am not a vet. Now, don't anybody think that I've never been a vet. Don't claim to be a vet. I serve our veterans, and that's my service. I don't want anybody thinking that I'm out, because one thing I cannot stand is somebody saying they're a veteran when they're not. But I am able to, being an artist and visually thinking as an artist, when someone tells me a story, I see that in a different way than a normal person would. Mm-hmm. So I can visually see everything that they've just told me. And so it impacts me a lot differently. And as it will with most artists, because we are visual. We see things other people don't see. Even on a walk, if I'm walking down the road or if I'm walking in a field, I'll see things or bring things out that nobody else will really notice. You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense to you. Yeah. And being a visual kind of person, as most artists are, when we're able to relate on a level that a normal, I won't say normal, an ordinary person would not be able to relate to that same person. So hearing stories from Vietnam, from Charles, every day for 2.5 years, and I've had veterans actually come up when I went to the symposium. I went to it was a Journal of Military Experience symposium in Kentucky. I was invited by Travis Martin, who was a soldier. And actually I did this is one of the books that I did, Journal of Military Experience. And I did,
oh, wow.
Volume 2.
Yeah.
I did every single, or pretty much most of the illustrations in the book. These are all one-shot illustrations of a soldier story.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all pencil drawings. And so all those different, and this is one of the hardest ones that I did. Now, when I tell you that you're doing something and you do a visual impact, and it sometimes is uncomfortable. I had a soldier issue that I had to do the story for. It's called The Pink Backpack.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about a soldier who saw a young girl who, a young boy, or no, it was a young girl, that was killed. And their pink backpack was laying beside him, and he came upon him. It was during a bombing. And so I had to illustrate that.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I did is I drew just showing the soldier's feet, and then him seeing the child with the pink backpack laying down beside him. Now that when you're drawing, those are the types of things that it can be kind of hard to do, but you also want to give justice to the story, especially when it's a real life true story. It's different when you're doing comics and they're fantasy. Just like with Larry Hama, he did the military run, the Nam, and I'm sure you're familiar with the Nam. One of the first times, a fantastic run. I love the books. I have them all. But they were based on Vietnam, but they weren't actual real stories from Vietnam. What we attempted to do when we were doing what we were doing was actually tell real life stories. And so it is what it is. But I've done a lot of stuff. I'm very, very proud of everything that I have done for people to try to help them in whatever way that I have been able to help, even if it's just bringing a smile to their face. I've done artwork for kids. I've done artwork, and I do a lot of free work. And my wife yells at me all the time, "Honey, you really need to quit doing so much free work. People take advantage." I enjoy drawing. So, and I agree. It doesn't pay bills or anything like that, but if I get enjoyment out of it. And when my wife and I were separated for 2 years because of the government, they wouldn't let her back in the country because she'd been out of the country too long. And it took me 2 years to get her back over here because she's British. But I had to re-immigrate her, even though she lived here for 13 years. When I got her back in the country, we went 2 years not together, and that was hard. And my art is the only thing that saved me because I was in a bad state of mind. But I put it out through my artwork, and the art actually kept me from off of myself, to be honest with you. If I hadn't had that, I don't know what I'd have done because I was in a bad place when that happened. And so it was and sometimes that's a release. It's the same with a writer. Artists have when we draw or whatever, sometimes it's therapeutic. It's a release. And
I would agree with that. Yeah. If you love what you do, it's not called work. And congratulations on getting back, bringing back the love of your life with you. The two of you are together again. That's wonderful. Yeah. That's it, a while, but I'm glad that the two of you are, back together again, united as a team. So there you go. That's all well and good here. Julie has another question she chimes in with. She says, what is something on your bucket list to do in terms of your art? There's probably 50 million things, but if you have to narrow it down to
my art, I want to visit DC Comics studios. I want to actually go to DC Comics and see it, check it out.
See it all.
That's one of my bucket lists. I want to go there, get in the bullpen and see them doing the thing just like it should be done. And the other thing, which will never happen, but I would love to do a cover for Batman. That would be my holy grail if I could do a cover for Batman.
Speaking of Indiana Jones, that's your holy grail.
The only thing I'd ever want to do.
So no worries with that. Julie chimes in. She asks, who would you ever collaborate with on another project, whether it's an artist or doing so in a book or a project? Would you ever collaborate with anybody? And if so, who?
Oh, I've collaborated with loads of people. But I collaborate with anybody. I've done work for let me hold on a second. Let me give you some names here.
So many lists, so many names, so little time.
I know.
Man, you just love to go off the rails of one question and turn it into 50 different responses.
Yeah. Jerry Bingham, I worked with him.
There you
He
go.
was part of this. Larry Hama, I worked with him.
Mhm.
Richard Meyer, worked with him. Who else here? Phil Jimenez, I worked with him. Philip K. Russell, I've worked with him. So these are all people that I've collaborated with. Rick Parker, I've worked with him. These are all people I've collaborated with the stories. This is the pinup that I did for that one particular book.
Oh, there it is.
So, I mean, I would love to work with anybody. I'd love to collaborate on a cover or a book or something like that with anybody in the industry right now. Billy Tucci, he's a good friend of mine, and I'd love to do something with his She, because he has his She that he just came out with, the She Omnibus, and I'd love to do a pinup or a cover for one of his books, which I need to actually talk to him about that one day. But yeah, I would collaborate with anyone. William Messner Loeb, I'd love to collaborate with him. He's been struggling quite a bit lately, and got a friend of mine, Mike Jones. They do this comic called Yeet, and we get a lot of stuff, but we've been really helping out, and I've donated some artwork to help with William's issues that he's had and stuff like that. So I've collaborated in that way with him, but I'd love to do something with him at some point in time. But yeah, I'd love to I'd collaborate with anybody. But at the end of the day, does anybody want to collaborate with me? That's the question.
We'll let the individuals who may or may not be in the chat right now, we'll let them answer that. We'll leave that up to you.
Yeah.
But once again, we're talking about the hero maker himself, Clayton Murwin, here on And I Quote. Make sure you're sharing this video with all 600 of your closest friends, and share and subscribe to this channel. They're going to like the way they look after watching this video. I guarantee it. If you have any questions for Clayton, let us know in the live chat. Let us know in the comments down below. We would love to hear from you. Don't get me wrong. Now, granted, this isn't one of your pictures of these characters, but I'm wearing something here that is brought to you by Plasmafire Graphics. When the look of your book matters to you, visit plasmafiregraphics.com for more information. But do you see this shirt? Do you see this character?
Yes, the Shadow.
Yeah, so who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows. So I'm curious. I saw an image of the Shadow on your website. How long did it take you to put that together? And is that available as a print?
That's a good idea. I actually did a Shadow print, which is based off of the one that was in one of the original Shadow books. And it's I've done a couple of Shadow different things because I'm a Shadow fan as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I love the Shadow.
Love the
Who
Shadow.
knows what
I know, man. Look at this shirt. Look how ridiculously good looking this shirt
that is.
is.
Good. Jeffrey is an awesome artist.
Is he awesome or is he awesome? That is the question. That is the question I've always wanted an answer to. Is he awesome or is he just plain that darn good? Jeffrey Hayes has been on this show before. He actually holds the record for longest episode thus far in And I Quote history, coming in at about, I forget the exact number. I believe it was 147, maybe 150. Which, by the way, which equals an hour 47 minutes to an hour 50 minutes, which, by the way, it's almost 2 hours. But listen, Jeffrey Hayes has an answer for everything and then some. Even the producer sitting backstage is nodding her head in agreement. Yeah. So, yeah, when the look of your book matters to you, visit plasmafiregraphics.com because he's got some killer shirts and some killer covers. I'm not going to lie.
Well, speaking of which, Jeffrey just put these cards together.
He did, didn't he?
And these are the two that I did for I don't know if you can see them good.
Oh,
these
yes.
are the two that I did.
Look at that.
That's Zane Carrington.
Oh, Zane Carrington, yes.
Zane Carrington in that one. And then this one is Captain Hogland. Right there.
Well, I'm just curious, if someone wants to purchase those trading cards, where can they find them?
They purchase them directly from Stormgate Press, Charles F. Millhouse. Go to the website. Check it out. You can get them and Choose the Adventure. I can't remember that website off the top of my head, but yeah, you can get the cards. You can order the cards directly from Charles through Stormgate Press.
Yep.
If you don't know how to get to Charles, you can get to him through my links. I'm friends with him. Or message me and I will send you his information. I don't have it at the top of my head right now.
It's okay.
Or I
hashtag always support your friends.
Yes, hashtag always.
Let's I was just gonna say, let's just leave it at that. But I haven't, and I haven't shown you this yet, and I can send you this image a little bit later in the backstage area. But I just bought my first ever graded comic book, aka a slab, and it was The Shadow #1 from 1973.
I saw that,
and it's slabbed, and it's at a 9.6. And I was like, dang, if I'm going to get a slab that quality, that is one to get. And I got it at my LCS yesterday, and then I posted a picture of it on my social media. If you follow me on all forms of social media, simply at It's Nerd Culture. We actually posted a picture of it on our TikTok at It's Nerd Culture. You can find it there. But how cool is that? I see your print on your website, and I'm like, he likes The Shadow. I dig this guy already. I mean, I already knew I liked you, but the fact that you put something together for this guy makes me realize this guy's got it made in the shade.
Yeah. Well, we're talking about your slab. Here's my slab.
Oh, yeah? Can you describe to us what exactly this is?
Batman, Kelly Jones, The Breaking of Batman.
Dude, that's him getting his back broken. Is that part of the Nightfall series?
Yes. And there you go.
That is part of Nightfall, with it. Wow. Is that autographed?
Signed by Kelly Jones.
Kelly Jones, you say?
Yep. He's the artist that he did all the artwork for it. And and speaking of The Shadow, I've got every single Shadow book. DC. I've got all the Michael W. Kaluta books. I've got the Stravinsky. I've got the there's a couple of Dynamite books I'm still missing, but I'm trying to get there. And I'm working on the original. Here you go.
Man, I'm loving this. I mean, I think this is. Listen, we're talking with Clayton Murwin, the Hero Maker, but I think backstage this just turned into the Shadow Appreciation Hour, Willow.
It is the Shadow Appreciation Hour.
I think it is. See, look at that cover. Look at that.
That's an original Shadow.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. This is the original. One of the books from the original pulp series from the 1930s.
Jeez.
And here's another one. This one's old. I can't even take it out of plastic. No. The tape is so old on it.
Oh, is it? Oh, I see it. Yeah. My goodness. Look at the man, this is in the words of the Ninja Turtles, this is radical. I mean, seriously. Listen, I grew up watching the Ninja Turtles in the 90s, the live action film, so come at me, bro. Yep. You know what? I actually think I have that issue of the Shadow. That one. Yeah, the one that you just held up. Yeah, that one from DC. I think I have that one. Do I have that one? No, I don't. I don't have that one. But I do have the one before that.
I've got the whole run on those.
Of course you do.
These are my extras. If you want one, I can send you one.
Ooh, okay. See, this is a conversation you and I may need to have in the backstage area. After the conclusion, the producers, myself, you, I think the three of us are going to have a discussion about this in the backstage area after the show. I don't want to give too much away in terms of spoilers, but my goodness gracious, that is great. Just real quick, I don't have them here. I don't think they're here in the studio, if I remember correctly. No, they're not. I deleted them. Sorry. My favorite The Shadow trade paperback that I own is from Dynamite. It's called The Shadow, The Death of Margot Lane. I haven't
got that one yet. I've been trying to find it, but I haven't been able to find it.
Oh, it's such a good trade paperback. It's excellent, Smithers. Yes. You really got to read that because that is my favorite trade paperback featuring The Shadow. But as far as single issues are concerned, I just like the cover. I mean, the stories may be one thing, but the covers are so good.
Oh, yeah.
Covers are so good.
You know the 2-part series that he did, that Michael W. Kaluta did? He did 2. It was only 2 books, and it was based off of the movie.
Oh, I don't have
those 2.
Okay, well, I'm jello because I don't have. By the way, Willow says, I was fangirling earlier. We may have to revisit this conversation about certain characters. Okay. Thank you, Willow, for bringing that up, and thank you for bringing up the comments. We do appreciate you doing so during the course of this broadcast. Yeah, as soon as I knew you were going to be on the show, I thought, you know what? He loves to talk about adventure stories. He loves to talk about I'm Batman. But I thought I would wear the Shadow nose because I just got my first graded comic yesterday, and I have the shirt from our good friend Jeffrey Reyes Hayes at Plastifier Graphics. When the look of your book matters to you, visit plastifiergraphics.com for more information on that. I'm just saying. But my goodness. Whew. I don't know if I can talk about the Shadow anymore. This is just too much, as my good friend George Costanza might say. My goodness gracious. Let's see here. Julie says, I can relate to writing, getting me through the hard times as well as my other passions. She also chimes in with, you will do Batman, and that's also about DC Comics. I relate. Well, hopefully that dream of yours will come true one day there, Clayton.
Well, let's see. I'm 57. I don't know.
Really? You're 50? Wait a minute. Get out of here. You're 57? I thought you were only 25.
Long in the tooth, you know what I mean?
I thought you were 25. I'm sorry. I guess I got my information wrong in the backstage area.
Dude, I look like Santa Claus.
It's okay. Hey, listen. If we've learned anything from Raiders of the Lost Ark, it's not the years, honey. It's the mileage.
That's it.
Isn't that right, Clayton?
That's right.
Let's not forget about Raiders here. Just
right.
saying.
We can't forget about that.
We can't forget about that. Don't get me wrong. Once again, we're talking with Clayton Murwin here on And I Quote. If you got any questions for him, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the live chat. We would love to hear from you. This has been an enlightening, should I say, to say the least, conversation with our good friend Clayton Murwin. But I do want to get to this here because this episode of And I Quote is indeed powered by Poddex. Now, Poddex are unique interview questions and episode starting prompts within the palm of your own hand. So whether you're a new podcaster or you're even an existing broadcaster, you're looking to grow your audience, you're looking to get more engagement, you're going to want to check out our good friends over at poddex.com. Make sure you use the promo code NerdCulture to get 10% off your order. You're not going to want to miss that. Once again, it's poddex.com. Promo code is NerdCulture, all one word, and you get 10% off your order. You're not going to want to miss it. So that was a lot. Clayton, what's the last thing you've done that you were really proud of?
The last thing I'd done that I was really proud of.
Could be anything and everything. Could be anything at all. Could be a drawing. Could be something you took care of the other day. Could be anything at all.
Let's see. Last thing I'd done that I was really proud of.
Could be anything. Anything comes to mind.
I'm not one for tooting my horn.
Really? I don't know, man. You were bringing out all those, covers that you put together beforehand. Come on now, don't
getting
be shy.
up getting up every day. no, I'm just joking.
Okay.
No, I actually there was my wife and I were out, and I'm not. It's not that I'm really proud of it, but it's something that made me feel good anyway. There was a couple of people in Walmart that were having some issues so we were able to help them out. So
sure, there you go.
That's some, and I have a tendency to do that. Having been homeless at one point, I know what it's like to eat out of a garbage can. So at the end of the day, we got to be good to one another and help you. And I think that's what I'm most proud of is that I try to be good to everybody. I don't care who you are, where you're from, what you do. As long as you're a decent person, I'm going to do what I can to be decent to you. And, now if you're out there hurting people and stuff like that, then I'm still going to pray for you or ask you to be nice. But, we all just need, I think that's the number one thing that we need to do is just be good to one another. That's what I'm proud of. Being able to see people for what they are and know that we all need a hand every now and then. So, I mean, and I don't mean to get philosophical or
no, it's okay.
Yes, and so I tell.
No, it's fair. It's fair. We're okay with any response you give because we just asked the question. It's up to you to respond whether you feel comfortable doing so. We will leave that up to you. We do appreciate you answering the first of. Don't get me wrong, we got a few more here. So, what do you think one of the biggest cons of being famous would be?
The biggest con of being famous?
What do you think is one of the biggest cons about being famous would be? What do you think would be one of the biggest cons?
Famous, the biggest con would be having someone follow you around 24/7 and never having any privacy.
That sounds like paparazzi.
That's the number one thing that I think I would have issue with that.
That's okay.
If I was really famous and I had someone following me around constantly trying to take photographs and constantly, and it would drive me crazy. I mean, I'm like, or constantly trying to get a photo of me doing something that I shouldn't be, or something I should be, or something that's got to be one of the hardest things in the world is to be in the line, the spotlight like that all the time, 24/7, 7 days a week, 365 days a year.
Yeah. Everyone's tweeting about, where is this person this week? No, I'm kidding. So no one wants to hear about that on Twitter. Trust me on that. So do you like to plan things out in detail or be spontaneous?
A little bit of both.
Oh, so you like a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. Okay.
Yeah, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper. I like to plan to a degree, but I don't want to plan to the point that it overtakes the joy. So I'll plan to a degree, and then the rest of it's spontaneous. Because a lot of times you can never. I don't care how well you plan something, something's going to happen to always mess it up. Like this morning, before we came on. But
again, that's not. It's not anyone's fault. We just there may or may not have been something that happened backstage where I'm not necessarily proud of, but we're going to work on that later.
Yeah. So. At the end of the day, things happen. So, but yeah, trying to find, you don't want to take all the joy out of it. No. My wife is obsessive compulsive. She has OCD. So she has a tendency to, everything has to be done. And I'm like, I'm the artist, so I'm more of the everything's doesn't have to be done. But I also have to plan because I know my wife. It's a whole different ball game. So
yeah,
but it's just like life. You can't plan you can't plan for everything, and you can't do everything. So the best thing you do is throw a little sketch out there, like I like to say, a thumbnail sketch. Because the thumbnail sketch isn't always what it turns out to be at the end. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Life's kind of like that.
Yeah. No, I see your point. And the producers backstage would agree with me on this. Marriage, it's all about compromise.
Yeah.
So see, they're nodding backstage, so I can tell that they hear what we're saying. So that's great, producers. Thank you. Keep it up. So I don't mean we're just having fun here on set. That's what we do here. Yeah. But how about this? Were you ever really passionate about something and then you just suddenly lost interest, and if so, what specifically was it at the time?
Was I really passionate about something and then lost interest in it?
Yeah. So were you passionate about something and then you just suddenly lost the interest, and if so, what specifically was it, if you would like to share anything with us?
Let's see
if anything comes to mind.
Well, the only thing I can really think of is at one point I was really passionate about not getting killed. No, I'm just joking.
Hey, come on now.
No. Actually, no, I've never really had anything that I've stepped away from. Okay. If I'm passionate about something or enjoy doing it, I'm pretty much do. I guess you could say, well, I wasn't passionate about it, but growing up in a rural North Carolina town for a while, one of the number one things they like to do was hunt.
Oh.
Hunting.
And
I really wasn't passionate about hunting. Let's just say I didn't really care either way. But that culture and society, you have to kind of fit in. You're trying to fit into it. So as a young man, I was kind of in an avenue. I just didn't never get it. So I left it.
That's okay.
The first time I ever killed a deer, I was like, that's it. I'm done. I can't do that. It's not for me. If I needed it for food, it's a different thing. Because, if I got to feed my family or feed myself, but I don't need to do that today. So just killing for the sake of killing. I would say that probably, like I said, not really passionate about it, but it was something passionate. My family was passionate about, and I kind of fell to the way. I would much rather take my G.I. Joes and go out into the woods and play with those.
Hey, G.I. Joes. That's an 80s reference if I've ever heard one. Don't get me wrong. The 80s had a lot of wonderful, wonderful things. Don't get me wrong. I mean, our producers backstage would agree with us on this. But anywho, how about this? Let's take a different approach to this one. Which activities make you lose track of time?
Drawing.
Just drawing out of the clear blue. You say to yourself, I feel like drawing someone known as I'm Batman. So I'm gonna draw Batman, and then 5 hours later you're like, oh my goodness, the time is just flown by. What am I doing here?
Whether it's Batman or I don't just draw Batman. But I do a lot of habit stuff. But like with my wife the other day, she had seen this photo of a dragonfly that a photographer had taken, right? And the way the photographer took the photos, it was against the moonlit sky, and there was dew on the dragonfly. But the way it was done, it looked like a fairy.
Really?
And so my wife trust me, my wife turned around. If you check on my page, you'll see it because I posted it on my Facebook page. It's on my page. But if you check, so my wife had mentioned to me that she liked it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to sit down and draw it. So I sat down and wound up working this, and it actually came out with like a 3D-ish effect to it, and which is pretty cool, just using pencil. And because I a little bit of color and a blur. It was pretty interesting. I think we just lost each other.
Yeah, we did. You were you froze for a moment there, but yes, you're back.
Okay.
Clayton Murwin is here. I can hear and I can see you. Yes. And you're referring to the dragonfly within the moonlight. Yeah, that's what we were going with.
Yeah, the moonlight killed it.
The moonlight killed it. Okay, there you go.
I mean, I was like 6 hours later, and then boom, I'm like, oh, heck, my wife's coming home here. So I completely lost track of time. Now, when I'm doing artwork, I really get involved in it. And just like kind of like binge watching, if I'm binge watching, I will sit there and watch an entire 4-week series in 2.5 days. You know what? I think that's quicker than some people that we know of who may or may not be backstage. That's even faster than they binge watch. Yeah. So good on you for getting the work done quickly. Gosh, I don't even know where I was going with that. I'm sorry, producers who are sitting backstage wondering what on earth is he talking about. No, it's fine. Just have another cup of tea. It's fine. But listen, in all sincerity, though. Tea, mate?
What's that?
Would you like a spot of tea?
Yeah, exactly. Tea, Earl Grey. Sorry, that's my TNG. That's my Star Trek. That's my Star Trekism coming out. Sorry.
When I lived in the UK, right? When I got back to the States, a lot of people couldn't understand anything I said, right? Really? So I'm sitting there going, I don't quite know what you're doing, mate. But if you're not careful, you go. So most people say I sound Australian when I try to do the British accent.
I was going to say, am I reading this right?
I lived in the UK for 5.5 years.
You did.
It was a complete culture shock.
It was, wasn't it? That's a completely different set of cards. But yeah. you said you were from originally, what was it, North Kakalaki? Where in North Carolina were you from?
I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida.
Oh, Jacksonville, Florida. Yeah. But you lived in North Carolina for a time?
When my parents split, my mom took me to North Carolina. So I grew up at the age of 12, I left Jacksonville, went to North Carolina, then came back. Once I got old enough, that's how I wound up homeless. Once I got old enough to get out on my own, I came back to Florida. And wound up on the streets for 2 years. And then, not that I didn't have a place to go back to, I just was stubborn and hard-headed. So, and at that point in my life. So, but anyway, that being said and done, I've been all over the place. I've lived in Florida, Minnesota, North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland.
Oh, you have been to Maryland, which is where our Nerd Culture Studios is located, which is where I'm at.
Oh, really?
I'm in Maryland. Yes.
Okay.
Born and raised, I might add.
Yeah. I was in DC for a little bit.
Oh, you were in DC. Okay.
Yeah. And then we went to, I've always wanted to visit New York, but I've never been to New York.
New York. I know exactly. That's a completely different set of cards. And yes, I have visited the state of New York. And yes, I've been to New York City. And yes, I've actually been to Chelsea Piers where they film Law and Order.
Have you been to Times Square?
I have been to Times Square. Yes.
Marvelous.
Yeah. I've been to certain places in and around New York. Let's just put it that. Plus, I still have family and friends who live up in the New York area. So let's just put it. Exactly, New York City. Yeah, let's just put it that way. But listen, before we talk about where on earth is Carmen Sandiego, hashtag great 90s property, just saying, we do want to take this opportunity to thank Clayton Murwin for being our guest this week on And I Quote. We are so thankful for him being here. Clayton, what projects do you have coming up, and where can the person who may be listening to this episode or watching this episode find you online and everything you have coming up? What do you got?
All right. Well, if you want to find out what I'm doing, you can go visit my website. And my website is www.artoftheheromaker.com. That's www.artoftheheromaker.com. You can check that out. You can also check out my Facebook page. And I usually post up there. I've got I believe he's got in the links here as well. You can check out, you go to my updates on my website, and that pretty much show you and tell you what I've been doing and what I'm involved with. I've got I got one project outstanding right now, which I'm trying to get taken care of. Can't really get into it too much. And then I've got a couple of projects I'm in the works on, thinking about trying to get moved forward. So when I can speak about them a little bit more, then I will. But so keep your eye on my website and my Facebook page. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being with us here, Clayton Murwin, the hero maker himself. All the links are located within the description of this video to where you can follow him online and all the products he has coming down the line. So make sure you check that out. Once again, my name is Ryan of Nerd Culture. You can find us on all forms of social media simply at It's Nerd Culture. New videos are being posted each and every week on our YouTube channel. If you want an audio-only version of this episode of And I Quote and past episodes of And I Quote, you can find the link in the description of this video and some of our past videos as well. So make sure you check that out if you want an audio-only version. No problems, no muss, no fuss. We want to take this opportunity to thank our good friends over at The Rad Bear. You're looking for some nerd swag, up your nerd game, wear some killer-looking threads. Visit theradbear.com, the best nerd brand right now in the circuit. Use that promo code NerdCulture10. It's all one word, NerdCulture10, for 10% off your order. They got shirts, hoodies, all kinds of stuff, whether you're a Power Rangers fan, the Never-Ending Story from 1984 fan, that's right, the Never-Ending Story, or if you're a fan of anime. If you like anime, they got tons and tons and tons of anime stuff and swagger to up your A game and make it an A+ game, if you know what I'm saying. So that is, in fact, going to do it for this episode of And I Quote. My goodness gracious, this has been so much fun, and we want to thank you for watching this. If you're listening to this, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, do all that stuff, because you're going to like the way you look after doing so. I guarantee it. Feel like $1 million. You're like a big bear, man. So in the meantime, stay healthy, stay strong, stay safe, and life is better when reading. Take a look.
Choose high-flying action. Choose death-defying escapes. Choose spine-tingling thrills. Choose nail-biting intrigue. Now's your chance to choose the adventure. The Captain Hawkland Adventures. Available on Amazon.com.